Welcome everyone. This is the third session in our webinar series, Choosing Your University Subject. So I have a question for everyone watching right now. Please can you either put in the chat if you're watching live or just think about it if you're watching this recording. Which one applies to you right now? So are you pretty certain of what you're going to be choosing in terms of your university courses? So if so, put A in the chat. B, if you're torn, undecided at the moment between a few courses, but all within one subject area. And then C, if you are really not sure at all about which course or even which subject area you would pick to study at university. Thanks everyone in the chat. Okay, we've got a lot of B's and A's. I do see a few C's, I think, as well. That's really useful to know. Thank you, everyone. So mostly A's and B's, I'd say. Okay, that is really helpful for me. Thank you. So questions to consider in today's session. What are your academic interests? What are your subject options? What factors are there that are going to influence your decision in terms of your university course choices? And how are subjects connected to careers? So we're going to be covering all of these questions in today's session. Okay, I have a game for you that for me is reminiscent of teenage magazine quizzes, where you have to sort of choose an answer and then you tally up at the end what all of your answers to all of the questions say about you. So I hope you'll play along with me. So if you want to make a note somewhere, either just pen and paper, scrap paper, or in your phone, or just keeping track on your fingers, we're going to have 4 questions that are aimed at figuring out what your academic interests are, what your subject interests are. And the answers are going to be either triangle, circle, or square answers. They're going to be represented by those 3 different shapes. And so at the end, you'll have 4, maybe more shapes. If some of the answers you're sort of torn between, you can put down multiple shapes for a question. That's absolutely fine. And at the end, we're going to see sort of where you sit in terms of basically sciences on one side and humanities on the other. So hopefully this will be maybe a bit of fun and hopefully quite interesting. Okay, so first question then, what sort of questions do you like to think about? So do you like the sorts of questions which have one definitive correct answer? There's a problem and then there's a solution. So if so, might make a note of a triangle for question number 1. And then if you're more interested in questions that have a range of responses, and really your response depends on how you would approach the question, then you're a circle for this one. And then finally, put down a square if you like questions which make you think about things in terms of patterns, categories, groupings. Now, you might be more than one answer here, so feel free to put down different shapes. Okay. I am going to move on to the next one, which is, what kind of information do you prefer to learn about? So for this one, a triangle would represent your answer being, you like learning about principles, statistics, things which tell us more about how the world works. So sort of rules, I guess, statistics and rules and principles. Circle answer for this one would be, you prefer to learn about perspectives and motivations that are portrayed through different mediums. So it could be texts, it could be, gosh, I can't think of any other media, but it's those sort of perspectives and motivations and how they're portrayed, basically. So you've got material culture and things like that. And then square would be reports and findings about interactions and connections between things and people. So have a think what your response would be. for this one. And again, feel free to put multiple shapes. Okay, the next one, what kind of task do you prefer? So choosing from the following: solving problems and doing experiments. That's a triangle answer here. The circle answer is analysing sources and writing essays or long-form written responses, let's say. So you're looking at sources and writing essays. Or surveying, so collecting data, I guess, and researching, so evaluating that data, finding out what other people have said about similar types of data. This is all very general, by the way, but hopefully you'll see the purpose of it in just a moment. Okay. Final one, I think this should be question number 4, but I've lost count. How would you determine whether an answer is true? So a triangle response here would be, I know that an answer is true because I repeat the same process with, controlling for factors, but I get the same result. So that would be a triangle response. How do you know an answer is true? Circle response would say, well, figuring out the truth is not as important to me as exploring a range of different perspectives. So a range of different truths, perhaps, and weighing up each argument, each perspective in turn. And a square answer would be, okay, I can know whether an answer is true because I'm testing an established theory or a model against information, data I've collected from reality, or someone else has collected from real lived experience. So those are the options there for our last question. Again, as I've said, feel free to put down multiple shapes if you are, feeling drawn to multiple shapes for this one. Okay, so here are the results. This is the bit in the magazine where it tells you, what your future has in store for you. So if you got mostly triangles, then you're probably considering STEM courses, so science, maths-based courses. Can I have in the chat anyone who was mostly triangles, maybe all triangles? Do these sort of match up with the courses, the subjects that you're thinking about studying at university? Oh, interesting. We've got some ties between shapes. So you've got equal amount of 2 different shapes. Interesting. Okay. Okay, varied responses there. That's interesting. Then moving on to getting mostly circles. So if you are someone who got mostly circles, then these might correlate to some arts and humanities courses at university. So these are things like English literature, theology, music, classics, some other examples I've got here. This isn't an exhaustive list. Who was mostly circles? Did anyone get mostly circles? And do you think that matches what you've looked at so far in terms of your subject interests? Mostly, interesting. Okay, we've got some definitelys and some pretty much. Nice. Finally then, for the single shape results. So if you've got mostly squares, you might be finding that the courses you're looking at, or if you're not really sure which courses to look at, this might be a good starting point. Social sciences, so things like anthropology, sociology, economics, psychology, linguistics, politics, education, and law. Have we got any mostly square responders that want to reflect on that before we move on to the mix of shapes? And our final one then. So if you've got a mix of all the different shapes, then interdisciplinary courses, by that I mean it's quite hard to define them and sort of box them off in one category, STEM, humanities, social sciences. Even using 3, they tend to push back on those boundaries and those categories. So things like languages, economics, architecture, geography I've got there as well, and others that I've listed on the slide. Did anyone get a real broad mix of the shapes in responses to those questions? Okay, we've got a few people who got a broad mix. Interesting. Well, I hope that was useful to you in the sense that it might point you in some different directions than you may have thought, because you're coming at it from not looking at a prospectus page, not looking at literal names of courses. You're coming at it from, how would I answer that question? What do I think my response would be? So hopefully that has been helpful to you. Excellent. So I've got on the slide now our courses that we offer. So our undergraduate courses at Cambridge. Hopefully this will be familiar to you, this screen grab that I've got on the slide. This is just lifted from the course page on the main university website. So if you just go to the undergraduate prospective applicant course pages, you'll find this here. And all of these courses here are hyperlinks, and they just link to the course page. Also, if you have a copy of our prospectus, either a physical copy or a digital copy, that also provides the information on the course pages as well. So we have around 30 broad and flexible courses at Cambridge. And those keywords, broad and flexible, speak a lot to what we were saying right at the end of that little quiz summary before about interdisciplinary courses. A lot of our courses are really quite interdisciplinary, because that's really how subjects often work in the real world. They're not sort of siloed off into their own subject niches and they stay that way. They are enriched, and often they are essentially defined by the fact that they interact with other subjects and other approaches, other disciplines. So a useful page for you, if you're thinking, okay, I'm not really sure what course I would study, but I know the sorts of subjects that I'm interested in, you can use the subject A to Z list. So if you go to this webpage here, you'll bring up a list that just goes A through to Z. I think it starts with something like aerospace engineering. So under each of those around 65 subject areas, they're all listed A to Z. Under each of them, you'll find the Cambridge undergraduate course that covers that subject area. So that's, again, another useful way in if you're sort of not sure about courses, using the subject A to Z is a helpful one for you. Okay, so moving on, how can you decide what to study at university? So these are just some suggestions of some factors you might consider. What skills do you want to develop? And that kind of links to what sort of learning style best suits you. So I'm thinking, okay, are you looking at analytical skills? Are those more mathematical based, or are those more textual based? So those are the sorts of things by learning style and skills. It's completely personal to you. Some people prefer to analyze a text or an image and write a response. Other people prefer to get their teeth into a maths problem. There's no right or wrong answer with all of the things that we're discussing tonight. In terms of subject choice, it's completely personal to you. What subjects do you enjoy? And also, what sort of job would you like to pursue? Those might be factors that you consider. That last one about jobs will come to the connections that exist between careers and university degrees in just a moment. That comes up a little bit later in the presentation today. But ultimately, at the end of everything, it is your choice. So whatever subject you decide to study at university, it will be the right choice for you if it was your well-informed decision. And over the course of you figuring out what you're going to apply for, your decision might change as you discover more about what you like, more about what you want to study, more about what the courses offer you. So try and keep your options open, even if you feel that you're in the, what was it at the start, A, B, or C, with A being you're pretty sure about what you want to study. Still keep, I'd say at this stage, still keep your options open. I've got a slide just about UCAS because I thought that might be helpful to put this in context, because when I say your subject choice, singular, that is quite misleading, because ultimately you will be making multiple subject choices. If you're filling all of the UCAS slots that you have available to you, and you have 5 slots to fill, you can apply for up to 5 university courses. then you are making subject choices, I guess. You're making course choices, plural. So I just wanted to mention that, and also just go over a few basic details about UCAS. So UCAS, the Universities and Colleges Admissions Service. UCAS is the online portal for applying to universities in the UK. So definitely go to the UCAS website for more information about that, but some useful pieces of information for you at this stage. There is an early UCAS deadline. We did cover this in, I think, the first session, the introduction to universities and to Cambridge in particular. The early UCAS deadline this year, it is the 16th of October. I can spot that my slides are out of date. Apologies for that. Normally it's been the 15th of October, but this year it's the 16th of October. And that's because the 15th this year in October falls on a Sunday. So it's now the 16th this year. If you're applying to medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, veterinary science courses, then you have 5 slots to fill, but you can only apply to a maximum of 4 courses in any one of medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, or veterinary science. And then your 5th choice has to be something like biology, something related to whichever course from that list. And when applying via UCAS for your undergraduate degree, remember you can't apply to both Oxford and Cambridge. And also, whichever one you're applying to, whether it's Oxford or Cambridge, you can't apply for more than 1 course at Oxford or more than 1 course at Cambridge. Other universities may let you apply to multiple courses at their university, but you'd need to check that from their course pages and their information. Okay, so that was a brief overview of UCAS applications. So degrees and careers then. So some careers do require a specific degree. And I always say this is quite a good thing in most cases, because you can't be a doctor unless you've got a qualification in medicine. You can't be a vet unless you've got a qualification in veterinary medicine. So they all make sense and they're all very good. And some jobs also require you to have a degree in a particular subject area. So some interpreter jobs or translator jobs, for obvious reasons again, and good reasons, I think, you have to have, your languages skills and your language qualification to back that up. So there are some direct links between university degrees, university courses, and careers or different industries, different jobs. But even when you have this specific degree required, so a case that I use as an example of this is law, because even when you have to have a qualification in law in order to be a lawyer, you don't have to do law at undergraduate level. So for law, you can have the law conversion course, which is a graduate course, graduate training course. I think they tend to be around 18 months, I believe. So even though there is that direct link sometimes between careers and university degrees, it's not always the case that you have to study that at undergrad level and then you go on. There are other options. You can do it after your first 3 to 4 years of studying your undergraduate. You can do subsequent training after that. These careers, that I've got on the slide, these industry areas, these different jobs, these are what we call open access careers. So most jobs that I've listed here, and there are other jobs as well, they don't specify a particular degree or particular subject. They just ask for what we call a good degree, which is either a first class or an upper second in any subject. So just a note on degree, degree qualifications, degree bandings. First class degree is the top degree that you get at an undergraduate level. It's between, I think it's 60 to, here we go, my memory's failing me, 60 to 70, I think, is a first. Am I right there? Yes, I think so. And then 50 to 60 is an upper second or a 2-1. The more I speak, the more I'm doubting myself, but you will be able to find this information. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. But basically it's the equivalent of like an A or a B. That's what we mean by a good degree. So first class or upper second. You will also have, so you have upper second, you have lower second as well. And then you also have third class. So third class is between 40 and 50%, I believe. So these are open access careers. So things like publishing, finance, accountancy, public administration, IT, journalism, all of these ones we call open access careers. So essentially, if you're thinking about anything in this sort of region, then you're bringing in the careers factor shouldn't really be too much of a swaying influence on your subject choice, because it's not like something like medicine to be a doctor. It's not as linear. So on the next slides, I've got two pie charts. The first one for history students, so the graduate outcomes of history students. And then the second pie chart is for engineering students. What you'll notice, first of all, is that we have a chunk at the top here, if we're looking at it going around like a clock. For the history students, we have them staying on to do further study, so postgraduate degrees, so staying on after that undergraduate, either doing a research course or doing a taught course, so a research master's or a taught master's. And then we have here the green wedge at the bottom there, in the bottom right, is what I was talking about before with the law conversion course, the law graduate training courses. So we have a considerable portion of students who've studied history who go on to do law training qualifications. And then you also have a whole range of other careers, other sectors and other industries, from things like working in the arts and recreation sectors, communications, media, publishing, communications, I've already said that, banking and investment, lots of different ones. And I hope what you'll see, if we go quickly to the next pie chart, flipping between the two, you'll see a lot of the ones that I've just listed also here as well. So banking and investment, communications, other service industries as well. And what you'll find is that there are some that are obvious subject links with engineering. So you've got things like manufacturing, utilities, power. These ones are an obvious link from engineering that weren't featured in the pie chart for history graduates. Instead, it was things like social science, humanities, other things like that that are more readily connected to the subject area. But here, what I hope you'll find is that just because you're doing what can on the surface look like quite different degrees, quite different courses that might lead to very different outcomes, you're not really closing off many doors when you pick history versus engineering, because a lot of the jobs, the careers, the industries that are out there are open access in that way that we've been talking about earlier. Okay, so in terms of keeping your options open for your subject choices and what you're studying right now and where that can lead you and what you can study at university, this is some advice that we recommend. So for science courses, we would advise applicants to take 2 to 3 of mathematical science courses, mathematical science subjects, apologies for that. So things like biology, chemistry, maths, further maths, physics. So these are like A-levels or equivalent qualifications in those subjects. You can have some quite typical combinations, biology, chemistry with physics, maths and physics. So you can sort of combine as you do there. Then we do have some more specific recommendations for us. So for instance, if you're wanting to apply for engineering or physical science courses, we would advise you to take maths, physics and further maths if that's available to you. On the course pages on the website, there is a really useful grey box at the bottom. If you scroll down, if you go on the entry requirements tab and then scroll down, you'll see a grey box, and that has the proportions of the subjects and also the achieved A-level grades for some previous successful applicant cohorts, so some entrants from previous years. So you'll be able to see that, for instance, 90% took maths for that particular course. It's really helpful if you're looking at the typical grade and subject profile of a successful applicant to Cambridge. Those grey boxes on each of the course pages, on the entry requirements bit of the course page, is going to be really useful to you. On the next slide, I have the same thing, but for arts and humanities courses. So for applicants for these courses, we advise that you take 1 or more of English literature, history, languages, maths, and you can combine those subjects with other ones such as another language, ancient history, economics, geography, religious studies, politics, and a science as well. This isn't a complete list, but those are some examples of what you can sort of combine together. And this is a really useful resource. So this pictured here is what I've put at the bottom of both of the slides that we've just seen. So the for more guidance section. So this is a PDF called The Subject Matters. If you've not already had a look at it, definitely take a look in your own time. It's got really useful advice about subject choices, post-16 subject choices, and how they relate to our courses here at Cambridge. If you are saying, okay, well, I can't just study one subject, I have some advice, information for you if that rings true for you. So regardless of what course you ultimately end up choosing, what course you also ultimately end up studying at university, there is really nothing stopping you from keeping on exploring and learning outside your subject area while you are at university. So while you're a university student, you might find that you can do some language courses, some coding courses. There will also be lots of opportunities in terms of the societies and the clubs at university. So a lot of our societies here in Cambridge, both at the university level and also at the college level. So our law society, politics society, history society. You don't have to be a history student or a law student to be a member of one of those societies and go to their talks and their meetups and all of their events. They're open to all. Often these subject-specific societies are actually very open in terms of who can join. As well as that, you'll often find that the courses themselves, and I say this is particularly true for courses at Cambridge, most of them will be really interdisciplinary. So they are incorporating lots of subject areas, lots of academic approaches. So you'll find that you're not really just studying one subject, you're really studying quite a few, and how they speak to each other and how they sort of complement each other and how you can use multiple subjects to forge new areas of research and findings. And also, a lot of our courses have modules that are sort of shared, if you like, between them. So this is definitely the case for our mathematics courses and our natural sciences courses, and also our economics course and our engineering courses as well. What you'll find is when you're looking at a prospectus page or a course page, and you're looking at all of the different modules that you can choose in the first, second, subsequent years, you'll find that the modules that are listed are also available for students in whichever year at another related course. This is often the case for our science courses, but it's also the case for our modern languages courses and English literature as well, for an example. There's lots of papers that are actually available in multiple different courses. And that'll be the same at other universities as well. So definitely make sure that you're looking at all of the different modules and topics that you will study as part of a course, looking at that granular detail. Two more things I wanted to mention about, keeping up with other subject interests and keeping your horizons really broad while you're a university student studying technically one course, which there are lots of courses out there at other universities where you can do, for instance, history and French, or philosophy and maths. There are lots of sort of combination courses like that. So that's a way to ensure that you're not just studying one subject, I guess. And for our medicine students and our veterinary medicine students at Cambridge, we also have this thing called an intercalation year. So this is the third year of your course, and you basically get to choose another subject to study for a year. So I know a medicine student who, for their third year, their year of intercalation, they did philosophy. Now, other medicine students might pick psychological behavioral sciences, or they might pick one of the biological course papers and options to follow from our biological natural sciences courses, for example. So they might choose something within the broad sort of biomedical sphere, as it were, but they might also choose something that is completely different. It's really up to you. So that's another option if you're going to be studying medicine or veterinary medicine at Cambridge, and other medic courses at other universities also have a similar intercalation year. And then the last one there, studying, traveling abroad, doing research projects, taking part in internships, doing work experience. A lot of our students do this during the summer vacation. So that's also a way to really enrich your learning and your experiences while you're at university. In the here and now, though, currently, what you can do to help you narrow down your options in terms of subject courses, subject choices. You can explore the course pages on the university websites, use their resources. So there might be some sample lectures, there might be some samples of sort of activities and tasks that you can do to give you a sense of what it's like to learn at a university level. And you can also participate in university subject taster sessions. So right now, as we're doing this session today, we have our masterclasses coming up in April. So our St John's masterclasses are subject-specific sessions held online on Zoom from around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. in the late afternoon and evenings throughout April. I hope that lots of you are signed up. We do currently have loads of students signed up, which is absolutely fantastic. Last time I checked, I think there were over 1,000 students signed up across the board for all of our different masterclasses. We haven't got sessions in every single subject, but we do have a really good range. We've got a session in linguistics, we've got a session in theology, we've got a session on, for chemical engineering, we've got our maths session, we've got loads. If you want to sign up to some of the sessions later on in April, the sign up form is still open for those sessions. So if you haven't already signed up for those, then definitely do just head to our open days and events page on the college website for that. Going to things like this really can help you with your subject choices, because you can see exactly what it's like to learn that subject at university level. So that can be a really useful thing for you to do at this stage. Okay, now I will turn to any questions that you have. And if anyone's watching this on the as a recorded version, then you just need to get in touch with me. Access Officer, it's just all one word. There we go. Access Officer at joh.cam.ac.uk. So thank you very much. And I will now take questions from the audience.